Hey, hey.
Good morning.
Morning.
How are you guys doing today? We're just going to wait another minute or two, see if any other people join in the waiting room.
Sorry, I'm not sharing this morning, guys. I've got a really bad head cold and I look pretty rough. So I didn't want to
No
miss
worries
this
at all.
though, because it was so great last week. I didn't want to miss it again. So I'm here and I apologize. I'm not sharing my camera today, but I am here and fully active.
Awesome. Angel, we appreciate you. We love you all. Thank you for being here. Absolutely. Morgan, yeah, good morning.
Yeah.
We are excited
Yeah, no
too.
worries. You're here. That's what matters. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and get started? We'll just keep an eye on the waiting room. But hello, what is this? The last Thursday of 2022. So we appreciate you spending your morning or evening or wherever you're at with us. And I had something in mind, but I wanted to shift it to go with the theme of the new year. So I hope that you guys enjoy what we end up talking about. But hello, I'm Monique.
And I'm Zach.
And why don't you tell us about yourself, honey?
Oh, about me. So I'm a real estate investor for 10 years now, and I've been on a journey myself, working through energy and mindset types of things through so many different adverse situations, opportunities. And then we met each other and I found out that she's
An energy healer.
an energy healer.
That's a thing.
Like, what is that?
Yeah. And I got into this field. So I talked about this briefly in our first call, but for anyone new, I got into this field after I had achieved my master's of public health. And so my specialization was in behavioral sciences. And so I was obsessed with human behavior and why we do the things we do. And I did tons of research studies and I went to a medical university for my master's, and something still felt off in my own healing journey. I was really sick. I was overweight, and I was mentally and emotionally and physically having multiple issues. So I'm like, okay, something's got to give. I was introduced to this path of emotional healing and energy work. Totally rocked my world, changed my life. And so then I started learning about energy healing and the science behind it and how to bridge that gap between the woo and the science to make it very digestible for people to absorb, to take in, and to apply to their everyday life, because we are energetic, right? I'll say this 1,000 times. Everything is energy. We are a part of that energy. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. It only transmutes into different forms. So the energy that creates us now has been here before us. It will remain after us. And therefore, every thought that we think, emotion that we feel, it's also an energy. And we are sending that energy out, and we are receiving energetic impulses back from the universe or God. When I say the universe, I'm referring to a higher power. So if you have a personal higher power, then please insert that higher power into when I say universe. So we're sending those texts out to the universe, like I mentioned, and we're receiving back whatever we put out via our energy. So everything is energy. And that's the goal of this energetic alignment and mindset series, is to get you all to be in alignment with your best and highest energy. So today we are going to quickly review what we talked about last week. So just some quick review about affirmations. And then we're going to go into the topic that I wanted to discuss, which is all about just how to energetically align with our goals for this following year before we really get there. Because sometimes we can beat ourselves up and we're not achieving our goals on the timeline that we think that we should. What you think, babe?
Yeah, I think it's great. So we were going to go in and talk about ego and some different things like that. But yeah, as we went through it all, and it's like, we're going to shift that till next week, being that it's the last week of the year and everyone's probably working on goals and what the heck are we going to do in 2023?
Because that's been our theme for the last 2 weeks too.
Yeah.
So
that was coming up with us, and we figured that we weren't alone in that. And so we would just share some wonderful things that are very timely for you guys.
Yeah. And then we'll talk about ego next week, which will be fun.
So we put together a few slides today for the more visual learners that might be out there. I'm helping you guys out.
Yes.
You're welcome.
I do not need to see pictures to learn, but Zach is a very visual learner. So he's reminding me of the importance of that.
All right. So cool. So here we go.
All right. So quick review. You want to go over it?
Sure. Just a little last week, what we talked about, affirmations, the benefit of them, how they come from your limiting beliefs. So ways of identifying those limiting beliefs and how you can create these affirmations so that you can bridge that emotional gap between your current reality and whatever desired future you want. You know, that's the beauty of affirmations, because you can do that subconscious reprogramming that ends up happening.
Yes.
So,
can I add to that real quick?
Oh gosh, you
I
no,
also-
no, you can't add to anything, right? You guys don't want to hear from her about any of this, right?
I also just wanted to remind you guys that if Zach or I say anything that you really resonate with, please take advantage of the chat box until we do questions at the end. And yeah, affirmations are a wonderful bridge. So they bridge that emotional gap between where we're at and where we want to be. And they can help to reprogram our subconscious beliefs if we use them in the appropriate manner. So how do we reprogram our subconscious?
Repetition and intensity.
Yeah. So ways that you want to do that is you can try journaling each day. So that would be like the repetition of writing out your affirmations each day. And we talked last week about how you can figure out what affirmations feel really good for you. And so wherever you're at now that doesn't feel good in your life currently, what would be the opposite of that if it was how you wanted it to be? And then that belief becomes your affirmation. So you can journal it out each day to see it, write it. You can record them and listen to them before bed. There's an app called Looper, and it can help you loop your affirmations. So you can listen to it before bed or when you wake up, where your mind is most impressionable. And you can speak them out loud. So this is where the intensity part comes in. This is my personal favorite. So when I'm doing physical activity, whether that's going for a walk or working out and really pushing myself, like if I'm doing a HIIT workout or I'm lifting weights or I'm running with him and I'm like dragging ass behind him, and I will start speaking my affirmations out loud to myself because my body is in a very intense space. And these affirmations, they put me in a more optimistic outlook. So I'm speaking them as my body is intense. I can choose to go into, oh my gosh, this sucks. Or I can choose to go into, wow, I'm so powerful and I can do this. So if you're doing physical activity, you can use the intensity of the physical activity and speak your affirmations out loud. Then you can look at yourself in a mirror and create a deep emotional connection with yourself and your heart. And that also can help with the intense aspect. And then just when you feel good, you want to repeat them to yourself. And then finally, I really like this way. I guide a lot of my clients through this, visualizing them with a mental story. And it's a mental story because you're including an emotion in with the story. So think about when you think about maybe you have a new date with someone, you're like, oh, how is the date going to go? And you think about them picking you up and you're feeling so excited and you're feeling like that fluttery feeling. You're attaching the mental image with the emotion, and then you're anticipating how it's going to turn out. We can do this with our affirmations. We can use our affirmations to create a mental image and attach it to the emotion or emotional anchor that we are associating with our affirmation, use them together and play a little future memory in your head. So you're visualizing them and you're really, really making your body believe, wow, this is actually happening, because the body doesn't know if it's happening now or if it hasn't happened yet or if it's already happened.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, so just yesterday when I was running, so I don't know wherever all you guys are, but we are here in Ohio and there's snow on the ground, and Christmas weekend, it was -degrees. And I've got this challenge where I'm running for St. Jude's to raise money for kids just in the month of December. I had 62 miles to run. So I broke it down to about 5.5 miles over 12 runs, the 12 runs of Christmas, I've been calling it. But I had some things that stopped me. Anyway, it's really cold. And so I had to find a gym indoors to start running like a hamster around this track. And I was all discombobulated because, oh my gosh, like so many different things. But like my thing wasn't working anymore to tap, because I'll forget when I'm running around a track, am I on loop 3 or 10 or 11, or did I just run 10 or am I going into 10? Holy smokes. Because you get into this state, it's that runner's high, they call it, but literally it's that state in your brain where you're not conscious anymore. And you're moving into this more subconscious type of, like loosey-goosey alpha type of theta type of state, which is freaking perfect for reprogramming your mind.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the new things that I'm going to be doing that I have not done is to use that app that she just recommended, that Looper app, and to play it while I'm running, because I'm like, I can feel myself in that state. And I'm like, this is the state to reprogram myself. Like I'm just so susceptible to thoughts. Great thoughts will come out naturally for problems that I've been working on. I just know that my subconscious is a bear right in that moment. So that's a cool thing that I'm going to be doing. So I'll share that, how that goes. But yeah, so that's the state that we want to get into. And you could even have yourself visualizing that mental story during that state, something like that, where you're just reiterating to yourself, this is that story of me walking from one house to another house, because we want to have different houses and places, and just getting excited about getting on the plane or getting in the car to go to that next location, feeling those emotions, what it's going to feel like to have the sun on your face going from the cold. How wonderful would that be? Oh my gosh. So like those things are super powerful. And you can imagine in that trance-like state, it's a real perfect way to reprogram.
Yeah. And I do use Looper, and I do like it. I listen to it as I'm going to bed. I'll just play it. It'll shut off on its own, or when I wake up. So there's a question, Angel, you have a hard time visualizing, and that's actually normal. Lots of people have a hard time visualizing. And so what you can do, instead of seeing a mental image, you can just create a feeling of, okay, well, how would it feel if this affirmation was already my truth? How would it feel if I was living this affirmation? So some people might see themselves at their new house that they're wanting to purchase, or they might see their bank account showing them a number that they want to see in their bank account. If you have a hard time seeing that, you can just practice feeling. So how would it feel if you were at the new house that you wanted to purchase? How would it feel if you were seeing that ideal number in your bank account? And just really tune into those feelings and just breathe into that, knowing this is how it's going to feel when I have that thing. So you can use your feeling, and then you can just have a knowing of, okay, I know that this is what I want. And so I'm going to use my other senses to engage. So again, know, and then have that feeling. You can practice just like listening to things, hearing things. Let's just keep it. You can practice hearing things that activate that feeling within you. So maybe you hear a song and it really lights you up, or you have I have a YouTube affirmation that I like to listen to, and it really gets me going. So you can anchor in your affirmations to some, like a song or something that you hear. And so every time you hear that, it's like, okay, this is happening in my body right now. Okay. So if it's a hard time for you to visualize, just practice feeling it and use your other senses, engage your other senses.
Cool.
Yeah. So let's
good with that. Cool. So we can move on then. So cool. And if you haven't done your affirmations, things like that, it's a wonderful opportunity, and you can always change them. You should be always thinking about how you would like to alter them as your goals and everything change.
They will evolve. All right. So today I wanted to talk about, so we use our affirmations to think about our goals. So for the goals for the new year, I want to reflect with you all for a moment and just think about the goals that you had this year. Like, how many of us feel pressure to perform? How many of us feel like we can be hard on ourselves? Or the person that we are hardest on is ourselves, right? You can use the chat box to engage if you want to. Yeah. So just think about how we put so much pressure on ourselves. Oh, I got to get this done. I got to do this. I need to get there. I need to achieve this. I have all this work to do, right? And just feel that in the body for a second and then let it go. So what if you weren't so hard on yourself? What if you took some of that pressure off of yourself to perform? How does that feel in your body, knowing that you can achieve your goal, whether you're really, really, really hard on yourself the entire way, or whether you enjoy the journey? So how many of us have we reflected back on our year and we're like, wow, I was really hard on myself, or wow, I really took the hard way out there. And I still, like, everything still turned out fine, but why was I so hard on myself then? Right? So I want to practice dropping this energy as we move into the new year. Super critical. Oh yeah. I can be very critical as well. I totally resonate with you, Morgan. You want to go to the next one? So, want to do an exercise with you guys around being hard on ourselves, or a time that you have been hard on yourself. So if you can, go ahead and close your eyes, or use the chat box to stay engaged if you want to. If you want to close your eyes, feel free. If it feels good for you to keep your eyes open, go for it. But I want you to think of a time that you've overcome some type of adversity. So this might be a health issue that was in your life. Maybe you were diagnosed with something, or a financial issue. You didn't know how you were going to have some type of financial goal met, or you needed bills to be paid or something like that. You had some type of goal for yourself, or a relationship issue, a communication issue in relationships, an emotional or a mental issue, or a toxic relationship, or a business or work issue. So I would love for you all to reflect here for a moment and just take some time to either think of a few examples, 3 to 5 examples, or write them down. You can use the chat box.
And we try to say 3 to 5 examples, because if we just say one example, you might hit that first one, but that might not be the root of the, the thing that's really stronger for you that's inside. So I always like to change the question of, instead of, what is an example, just how many ways is there an example of something? So you change the question, you get the different results, so we just want to think of a few of these, because it might take asking yourself that thing a couple times just to actually get something that resonates a little stronger for you. And that's a good mind hack to do anytime.
Yeah. So
I'm writing some down with you.
Yeah.
I'm the one that plays along with you guys, so you can.
Yeah. So just go ahead, think of some times where you're overcoming some type of adversity, or you were nervous about something and you ended up doing it.
Yes, you're going to jot down that issue.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need to type it into the chat
They
bar
can if they want to engage, but definitely don't need to. Just have an awareness of it. I just want to give some time. We can go to the next one. You can share what you wrote down.
On you. You want me to share mine?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, personal. Okay. Wow. Okay. All right. Here we go. So, so this month, very recent, I'm doing that charity, running that 12 runs of Christmas, and it's a bunch of running. And I didn't really run that much before this whole thing, but I ended up having a health problem that is a little ongoing, and I just needed to get a procedure for that. And it happened to be that I could finally get it in December, and that really derailed my progress with everything. But because of that, I just, picked up on the running a little bit more. And instead of spacing things out, like these last couple days here, I had to run the last 2 days, 5.5 miles each day. And I'm going to run today and tomorrow 5.5 miles each day. So I'm just going to get that thing done. But for me, that was really cool, because I was overcoming something that had been nagging at me for a while. And it was great to just then run through it and to feel that thing on the other side. So that's just like a minor thing in my mind. I guess the bigger one that came up, like I say, when you keep going through it, you get to bigger and bigger things, is my divorce. I was married before I'm sitting next to this lovely lady right here. And that was goodness. You know what it was? It was about 10 years ago. You know what that coincides with? How long I've been in real estate. So funny thing is, going through when I came to Ohio is going through this divorce that we were very recently engaged and our world was turned upside down. But if it wasn't for that divorce, going through that, realizing that we're separate, different people, that I wouldn't have gone to a coffee shop, wouldn't have put down my bucket list of items, wouldn't have started running just in general, because a marathon was a thing that people put on their bucket list. And I only ran 2 miles before that, but I wouldn't have gone from 2 miles to a full marathon in 4 months if it wasn't for my divorce. And I'll tell you that I wouldn't have gotten into real estate if it wasn't for my divorce either. So, for me, I'm very thankful that my mind was able to push past the negative and move into something that was uplifting. And running, to me, I have found, has been my active meditation, getting into that Zen state without just sitting there and contemplating, but like actively moving through. It helped me through so many different things in architecture school, and then also when any other problems come up in my life. And literally, I can look at my previous marriage and say, thank you for that ending. Thank you. And I love that it ended, because it literally wouldn't have brought me to where I am right now. But to me, that was a big adversity at the time. And it was an emotional draw, I imagine.
Yeah. And so one of mine was my corporate job. It was draining me. And I was like 24 at the time. And I was thinking, I'm in my mid-20s. There's no freaking way that I can work the rest of my life feeling this way, because I was depressed. I was bulimic. I was very anxious. I was gaining weight, even though I was eating really healthy. And I had really bad asthma, eczema, and allergies. And I was working in a factory, and I was a wellness person for factory workers. And the environment was very toxic. And I told myself, if I ever quit this job and start my own business, I will love my life, and I will find ways to bring joy into my life, because right now I'm not feeling any. However, will you go to the next slide, please?
Yes, ma'am.
However, when we overcome adversity, we can recognize that immediately we have that sense of relief, right? So when something happens, like when I quit my job, I was so freaking scared to quit my job. I was shaking when I was talking to my boss. But as soon as I quit, I felt like a cartoon character where my nose was like smelling my way home and I could just float home. And I felt so good and so light. And before that, I felt awful and I didn't know what I was going to do. And then I found myself finding myself in that cycle again and again. And so what happened after you overcame adversity is, did you survive? Yes, you survived. But before overcoming it, how did it feel? Probably like you were going to die. Life couldn't go on this way in more extreme cases, but that was like mine. Like you didn't know how you were going to move forward. Like you would give anything to be on the other side of this, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was feeling with my divorce. Right. And that whole example, that definitely felt real down with everything. That was very emotional. And then just the health issue that I had earlier this year. I mean, it wasn't as emotional, but it was just it was a real pain in the butt. And so like, it was just something that I had to constantly deal with. And then, but my gosh, when that was all done, I felt so much better. But then I had the anxiety of running all of these miles for charity. So then I'm like, okay, new adversity that I had to overcome. And so I was in that at the moment. That's literally where I am in now, running the last 2 days, running these next 2 days. But I already know that I'm going to feel amazing overcoming that whole thing. And it's like, I didn't think that I could run every 3 days necessarily running that, but now I'm going to be running 4 days in a row, 5.5 miles. Right. And that's just because I've had some consistency through everything. So really fun.
So yeah, you can go to the next one. So how you feel after it, you feel good. So did you just overcome that issue to just continuously beat yourself up? Like at the beginning of this call, I asked how many of us have been hard on ourselves this year? How many of us have been putting lots of pressure on ourselves this year? And how many of us have just beat ourselves up over the goals that we want to achieve of not being there yet? And everyone agreed that we all have. But yet we've all overcome adversity in the past to feel a certain way. Like I see, Angel, you got your first tattoo. And so we overcome adversity and we feel so good when that happens. But we come back to beating ourselves up and putting more pressure on ourselves and finding more reasons to self-inflict this emotional pain. Right? You can go to the next slide.
Yeah, so we want you to kind of do this. I'll just go back real quick. We want you to do this for each of your little examples. You know, it can help you just to write that down, because it becomes real when you write something down, right, guys? I don't know about, again, I'm a guy, I'm a little bit different wired than her. She's a more audio learner. I'm a more visual learner. So having something that's on there when you write it down, even some people are more kinesthetic. The kinesthetic is someone writing something down. And so just doing that helps it really sink in a little bit more to you guys. So I just invite you to participate in that way as much as you feel comfortable. All right, moving forward.
Yeah. So think about it. So the goals that you've set for yourself for this next year, are you excited about those goals? Are you actually excited about them? Honestly, or do you see them as a problem that you need to overcome, as another issue that you need to overcome, as some type of adversity that you need to get to the other side of? How are you actually viewing your goals? How are you actually viewing that ideal future reality that you are wanting to create? Are we viewing them as like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be so freaking excited. This is so exciting to create this. This is so exciting to know that this is a possibility. This is so exciting to know that because this desire is in my heart, it's meant for me. Or are we approaching this potential reality as oh, great, here's some more goals I need to achieve. Here's another financial marker I need to meet. Got to get this done. Got to do this. I have to figure out how I'm going to get this done. I need a break. And like the year 2023 hasn't even started
Hasn't even
yet.
gotten here, and you're just like, oh my gosh, there's so much to do in 2023. Yeah, Angel. Yeah, Danielle, I totally get it. You know, I felt that same way when we were talking about this. It's like, yeah, that goal, it looks like a mountain that I have to overcome in my mind. You know, so reframing that is the whole key.
Mm-hmm.
Is the whole key to making your goals just get attracted towards you and making it easy and enjoying the process and loving every second of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we really want to frame for you guys.
And I also want to make a point here that when I say, are you excited about your goals? I don't just mean goals for the new year. I don't just mean financial goals. I mean desires, like what's on your heart that's not currently in your life, but you want it to be. It could be that relationship. It could be a kid. It could be a house, that income, a business partner or a business, or some more properties, whatever it is for you. And it could be multiple things. The point that I want to make clear and I want you to reflect on is, what lens are you seeing that potential reality through the lens of, oh my gosh, this is so exciting, I can't wait to create this, or, oh shit, this is just more that's added onto my plate. Well, I guess I better get to work. So really think about that, not just as you move in and create goals for 2023, but even if you want to just deepen your intimacy with your partner, if you are in a partnership, or with other people in your life. How do we view this through? Something that we get to do or something that we have to do?
Get to do. That sounds better.
Because the reason that you want to achieve your goal or your ideal reality in the first place is because you think you're going to feel better once you've achieved it.
Yeah.
But if we're not feeling good now, and we're just beating ourselves up. And think of all of the goals you've already achieved. Think of all of the goals you've already accomplished. Think of all of the adversity you've already overcome. The purpose of overcoming that, the purpose of achieving that was to feel better. How many times have we said when we're sick, like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to feel better. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to start going for walks. I'm going to eat better.
I'm going to live life again.
Yeah.
God, if anyone is out there, if you just make me better, like right now,
Yeah.
I'll do everything I said I was going to do.
Yeah. And then 3 weeks later, you're like, your neck is like down a bottle of wine. And it's just like, whatever. And, or your hands in the Oreo bag or whatever. I don't eat Oreos, so I don't know, but
our conscious and our subconscious, they're so quick to forget some things, the good things. You ever experienced that? You're quick to forget the good things, but man, you remember the bad things forever. Like, isn't that what it kind of seems sometimes? And it's like, well, why is that?
There's a reason, and we're going to talk about it next week with the ego.
Perfect.
Yes. You guys are agreeing. Yes. And so the reason we want anything is because we want to feel better. So understand this very basic fundamental truth. The reason you want what you want is because you believe you're going to feel better once you have it. The reason you want to achieve that goal is because of how you think you're going to feel when you're on the other side of the goal.
And yet sometimes I get anxious about that goal. In one day or another day, anxious, and that anxiety can turn into a depressive type of emotional feeling inside of me, which makes me like, let me take today off because I've got the rest of the year, the rest of the week, the rest of whatever. Got plenty of time. Like, that's another problem with big goals, and they're not broken down and things like that. But regardless, it's like, yeah, I can take today off. And it makes me a little bit more anxious the very next day. So it can spiral and get in a bad way. And when I end up achieving something towards my goals, I'm just like, thank gosh, I finally got to that. But like, I have so much more to go. I'll hear my critical mind saying that. I don't celebrate a lot of those little wins or anything along the way, because it's just, I look at that big mountain that I have to climb. I don't look at the fact that I just ran 10 miles to get to this spot here, but I look at all the miles that I have to get to the top of that mountain.
Can we go to the next one?
Sure.
Yeah. And so what Zach was kind of alluding to is the power of focus with your goals, how he was saying he'll get into his idea of achieving his goals, and then he'll start feeling anxious. So what are you focusing on? What energy are you focusing on? Are you focusing on the energy of the goal being achieved, of you being on the other side of the situation and how good that's going to feel? Or are you focusing on the fact that you're not there yet? The space between you and what it is that you want. Because the power of focus, it drives energy. So energy is just energy, okay? Energy doesn't move without intentional focus behind it. And so whatever we are focusing on, we are literally pushing energy towards that. So if you're focusing on the anxiety of not having your goal completed yet, or everything that you have to do, then you're going to find more anxiety in your life, because that's what you're focused on. Therefore, you're teaching yourself anxiety is important. And if anxiety is important, your subconscious mind is going to start looking for it. Or you can focus on the gratitude that you're going to feel when that goal is achieved, the confidence you're going to have. Or you guys can write some emotions of how you believe you will feel once your goals are achieved. For me, freedom is a big one. I'll feel free when some of my goals are achieved. So if I'm focusing on how can I feel more free today, what does freedom feel like for me today, then I am telling my subconscious mind, freedom is important. Look for more ways to be free. And therefore, I'm shoving more energy into the frequency of freedom. Does this resonate? Is this making sense? Yes, that's me. Look back, see how far I've actually come. Yeah. And when you find yourself getting in that scarcity of, oh my gosh, I still have to create this goal, or oh my gosh, I'm so far away from getting this goal. Think of how many goals you've already achieved. And remember how good it felt when you overcame the adversity of being on the other side of that goal. And bring that feeling into the moment now. So some of what you guys are writing is freedom and security, empowered. And so how can you feel more free? How can you feel more secure throughout your day? How can you focus on feeling empowered throughout your day? And some people might say, this has nothing to do with my goals, but it has everything to do with your goals, because everything is just energy until it's manifested as physical.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want something that's not in your current reality, it's just an energetic possibility right now. But in order to collapse the wave of energy that's between where you're at now and what you want, the fastest way to do that is to use emotion. Why? Because emotion is generated from our heart center, and our heart center has the greatest magnetic field of anything else in our body. And it helps us to reprogram our subconscious mind to identify with the person that has what we want. But we'll go into that on a different call.
So it's interesting though. Yeah. Freedom. Freedom is a huge thing for me. Freedom to do what I want, when I want, where I want, with whom I want. That is me through and through. So I can be with my family, be with my loved ones, to just do nothing. If I want to do nothing, like what a benefit. You get fired for that at a normal W-2, but like here we're encouraging it. And you know what? I'm reflecting right now. I don't take enough pause to even feel the gratitude enough throughout the day of all the freedoms that I have. And that's literally like, I just feel like I'm running. I just want more freedom, more freedom, more freedom. Right. And I'm reflecting that I need a little bit more focus on that gratitude part of it, because I have so much more freedom than I did a year ago, 10 years ago, all those things, and this is this next item that we're talking point, the bullet point of, are you running forward or are you running backwards? So this is something where I'm a runner. So it helped break some things down to me when I was talking about some of these items with Monique. It's like, are you focused on your goal, where you're looking, or are you looking backwards at all these things, like the problems, the anxiety about it? Like, I'm going to try not to be anxious. I'm going to try not to do this thing. I'm going to try not to get depressed. I'm going to whatever, try not to do something. And when we were talking about it, and it's like, oh man, that's a perfect analogy. If you've ever ran, do you run forward or do you run backwards? I can run backwards. When I'm training some people, like I'm running backwards as they're running towards me, so I can talk to them, and I can, it's sort of weird at first when I'm doing that, I guess, with them, but I can run pretty fast backwards, but I can run a heck of a lot faster forwards. And that's the key. Is when you're facing forwards, you're looking and you're attracting and you're feeling that energy of exactly where you want to go in those goals. That's how you can get there the fastest, guys, is you have to face them forward. You can't be looking over your shoulder at all these scared things, saying, I'm not going to be like that. No. You can't program your mind like that, because you're still giving attention to that negative thing, because you're acknowledging that negative thing, that anxiety, that depression that's kind of there. Why don't we just attract calm and ease, kind of the opposites of that. Like, and so just focusing on those things and bringing those into your present space is so much more powerful to making you get towards your goal than just to run away from these types of fears and negative things. Run forwards.
Can we stop the screen share?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And Zach mentioned something really powerful that I want to make sure that we fully understand. And that is, are you focusing on what you want or not having what you don't want? Because there are two things at play here. One, the subconscious mind does not hear the word no. It takes everything very literal, and it takes the positive aspect of everything. So it does not hear the negative. It does not hear the no. So if I'm saying, I do not want someone who is lazy, or I do not want to be someone who is lazy. The subconscious mind just harps on the word lazy, lazy, lazy. So you will therefore see more laziness in your life. So if you want something, we get to focus on what it is we actually want, not moving away from what we don't want. And that's like with our goals. What do you want? Like, why do you want your goals? Why do you want to achieve them? Because you want to feel more free. You want to feel more empowered. You want to feel more joy. You want to feel more security. What you don't want to feel is the anxiety, the overwhelm, the stress, the pressure. But yet we try to move towards our goal by moving away from the anxiety, the overwhelm, the stress, and the pressure. When in reality, if we're placing our focus there, we're moving towards that. And then we find ourselves at odds with ourselves because we're like, oh my gosh, I just want this thing. I want to achieve this thing, but it feels so freaking hard. I'm putting so much pressure on myself to just get there. And it's like every step forward is pulling teeth emotionally and mentally. Where is your focus when you feel that way? Are you focusing on what you want to create and how it's going to feel, or are you focusing on what you don't want to create or how you don't want to feel? And that's a reality check that a lot of us need to have, and some reflection that we get to bring into our relationship with ourselves and our goals. And so I invite that for you guys to reflect on and to bring the focus back to, okay, am I running forward towards this? Am I running forward towards the emotions I want to feel? Or am I running, but I'm facing backwards? And then in 7th grade basketball, this girl was running backwards. She tripped over me and broke her arm. So don't be her. Don't be her. Run forward so you can see where you're going, and then you can navigate any obstacles that may be coming up. You're like, oh, cool. This is an opportunity for me to jump over this thing or for me to move out of the way. Versus running backwards. If there's an obstacle there, you're going to fall and be like, oh crap, I didn't even see that. So we can prepare ourselves emotionally, mentally, physically, even for having our goals before they get here. Because remember, you want to feel good. That's why you want the goal in the first place. So practice that now. You can practice that now. I think on every call, we've connected to positive emotions, and you've all generated them within yourself now. So you know you can do that. And that's called embodied power. So be embodied in your power, and then that which you desire, you will find a lot easier to come into your life.
Yeah. So one of the new things that I'm going to be trying in 2023, and I'm going to start it today even, is just creating an achievement journal.
Yes. We've talked about this. Yes.
You know, and I am so quick. Like, so I have a coach as well, in business, and it turns out being in more than business, kind of a personal vision and whatever, a lot of different things. A coach for that though. And man, I will tell you, he will text me randomly out of somewhere and say, hey, give me some wins for the week. And that text gives me so much anxiety. Just that text alone. I'm like, oh my gosh. And of course, the first thing that comes to my mind is, I haven't had any wins.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the first thing that comes to mind. And I noticed that. I'm like, wow, I have to shift some things in my mind, because then once I take 5 painful minutes of writing down what those wins are of the week, I'm like, holy shit, I had an awesome week. And I didn't even realize it. I didn't even dwell in it. I let that just go right by me. That wonderful little jewel that I could have used to fuel me. That's fuel for your soul and your mind and your heart and everyone around you. And I just let that go.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what the heck is wrong with me?
Mm-hmm.
At least I'm catching myself now. Right. So we're going to do a couple things where, I want to have just an achievement journal, because man, I don't even have things written down, all my wonderful achievements in my life.
I know.
Once I wrote that down on one of my random weekly things that I use to write down all my to-do lists and stuff, I was like, holy crap, this feels really good. Just looking at it, reading it, that exercise of writing it down, but all of those things together, so powerful, just takes me out of that slightly I can't do something phase, that little mind that's like, but it gets rid of that. It kind of like at least wipes it away like a whiteboard where there's still a little hint of it, but like it's mostly gone, where I can write over it at that point.
Yes. And because if you're not deliberately choosing what you focus on, your mind is going to choose for you based off of the things that are constantly around you. So if there's news playing, or if you're on social media and you're seeing negative things or people arguing, that's what you're just going to unconsciously focus on if you aren't choosing what you focus on. So if you aren't choosing to focus on your celebrations or your wins or your achievements, how many of you, if I said, tell me a failure you've had in the last couple of years, just a big ass failure, tell me one that you've had. I bet a lot of us could be like, oh man, let me tell you about this time. But then if I say, tell me an achievement that you've had that's recently happened or something to celebrate, like, okay, give me a second to think. Now, there is a reason for this. And it's because, one, we find safety in negativity. Because if we are feeling low and we're already at the bottom, we can't fall any lower. Emotionally, we can't fall any lower than the shame, the embarrassment, the guilt that we're already feeling, the not enoughness. However, if we're feeling happy, if we're feeling joyful, we're celebrating ourselves and we're feeling ourselves, right? And if someone comes and tries to knock you off your chair, you have a longer way to fall emotionally. So it's safer to just keep ourselves in this state of negativity, whether that be feeling embarrassed about whatever it is that you're doing or hiding, or just focusing on your failures or your fears or your worries or your anxieties or rejection, and not putting yourself back out there because you know how it feels here. You know, you're surviving here, so it's fine. And yet we're not meant to live in survival. We've evolved past that. But so many of us won't give ourselves permission to move up the emotional ladder to feeling like first acceptance and then satisfaction, appreciation, gratitude, to celebrate ourselves, to feel confident, to humbly brag about ourselves, to share our achievements with others. Because we worry that if someone else says something, or if something were to happen and something was taken away from us, or there was a shift that occurred, and something happened less than ideal, that we're like, oh man, I'm back down here again. But if you are dehydrated, would you never drink another sip of water in fear that you were going to be thirsty again? No. If you're dehydrated, you're going to go drink water. And yes, you're going to feel thirsty again eventually, and you're just going to go drink more water. So celebrate yourself. Write down your celebrations. I see, Andrea, you and your kids do a gratitude practice every night at dinner. That's wonderful. Teach them young and reteach yourself. Reparent yourself into believing this. It's okay for me to celebrate myself. It's okay to be in gratitude. It's okay to celebrate my achievements and my accomplishments, knowing that there might be some day where something happens out of the blue and there's a plot twist, or someone that you care about says something hurtful, and that's okay. You're just going to continue achieving. You're just going to continue reaching your goals and celebrating yourself. You're going to continue to drink water because you're not afraid of being thirsty, right? You just know that this is a part of life, but it's okay for me to drink water. It's okay for me to celebrate myself. So just give yourself that permission and choose what you are focusing on, so your mind doesn't choose for you.
Yeah, I love that, Andrea. That's a great practice. I remember we've done things like that before. And so, but for me, my mind is so quick to forget my wins. That's why my big thing for 2023 is I'm going to write them frickin' down in a separate book just for that. So I'll have a whole book of just pages of wins. I'll probably feel a little anxious about it first, having an empty book of wins, but like, that's just honest. But then, yeah, writing that down so that I can reflect on that, and maybe even going back and highlighting some things that are super wonderful, feeling to have those good emotional ties, because then I'll look through at the highlights and then I'll just be like, oh, that's a great one. Oh, that's a really good one there. Right. So just what are some things that you would end up documenting? I mean, anything that resonates with you, but something emotional, absolutely, or something that you overcame some of your limiting beliefs. Right.
Or even, I'm just going to give a personal example. I hope you're okay with this, honey.
Uh-oh.
If you are in a partnership or you have a relationship with someone, because we all have people that we're in relationships with, like Zach and I, we're two unique individuals. We're going to have arguments. We're going to have disagreements. But something simple that you could write down is we overcome the arguments. We come to a conclusion. We reach a mutual agreement. And because it's so easy to remember the arguments and to remember the times that people make us feel bad or low, but it's a little more difficult to remember all of the times. Okay, but we've overcome all of them and we've developed more intimacy and understanding with each other in the process. So we could write something like that down. You could write something down like, I didn't want to work on this project, but I did. I allowed myself to be disciplined enough to move the needle towards my goal. I ate some extra protein or a vegetable today when I really wanted to eat chips, or I went to the gym and I felt really confident. Or you reached out to a buyer, a seller, a wholesaler, and you just had a conversation, even though you felt fear. Celebrate something so small. So when the big stuff comes, you're like, holy moly, this is awesome. And yet I expect it.
Yeah.
Because you've celebrated all the small things along the way.
Yeah. Even as we get into fights with each other, you might have caught it that 2017, I focused on the word patience for the whole year. But, for me, oh my gosh, just being able to bring things down and be patient when we are arguing, or maybe even just flat out fighting, about things. And it's just like, bah, 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 coming at me.
Very emotional.
Very. And it can be loud sometimes. And it's just, can you ever have someone that might just blow their top off like a volcano, and you're just going to sit there like just a calm water with a boat that doesn't even move? Well, that's what I'm stretching for. But, just for feeling a little bit of patience in that time and just being thankful to myself, to my previous self, but just anything that's aligned with your affirmations too. That's an easy one. That's an easy one. You're literally writing those things down that you want to be that way, that you are that way. Celebrate it. Celebrate your wins every day that you got there.
And a win. We live in the Northeast, and so it's very cloudy this time of year. So seeing sun, that's a huge win for us. So even something to your point, or to your question, Cynthia, that you would overlook otherwise. So she asked, what is something minor you would document that you would overlook, that you would otherwise overlook? The sun shining, feeling the sun on your skin, how good it feels to be able to feel the sun on your skin. Going for a walk, how amazing it is that I can go for a walk without thinking about anything that my body is doing right now. Or just knowing that your body has like a million processes happening right now that you don't have to think about. Like all of these things we can find gratitude for. And it's in those seemingly mundane things and moments throughout the day where we can find that magic. That's when we can create more of it, right? Because that's what we're choosing to focus on. So therefore, by default, we're going to create more of it. So it's really, I love the saying, and I always try to repeat this to myself, is, can I find magic in the mundane of each day? So just in the mundane moments of each day, the more magic you can find, the more magical your life's going to be. And you can insert magic with anything. Can I find gratitude? Can I find appreciation? Can I find love? So whatever you want to create more of in your life, can you find that in the mundane moments of each day as you work towards your goals, so that you can feel the feelings of having your goals achieved before they're even achieved, so that when they get here, you welcome them with expectation.
Yeah. So, you can go through that practice, write down, think about whatever those things are in your day, the ones that come to your mind that seem normal, but then just challenge yourself. Challenge yourself with, all right, what's something that nobody would probably be grateful for, or it's out of the normal that someone would be thankful, grateful, appreciative, think that this is an achievement, whatever that was. Frame the question so that your mind literally has to think of a different way to be grateful, to think of an achievement.
Like, how many ways can I be grateful for my life, for myself? Also, I'll challenge you to find things to celebrate about you. It's easy to find things to celebrate about life and other people, but find things to celebrate about you, because we are typically our worst critics. So can you shift the script of the role that you're playing in the movie of your life? If you were writing a script about your role, what characteristics would you use to describe yourself? What are you grateful for you? And I would recommend that you get in a habit of celebrating. Like, I love that I am a wonderful teacher. I love how patient Zach is. And so it's like, I can find gratitude. I'm grateful that I'm creative. I'm grateful that I'm a wonderful teacher. Zach, I'm grateful that I'm very patient. So it's just finding these things within yourself. So you're not always looking for something external to celebrate. We want to celebrate internally, because the internal reflects the external.
Yeah. Yeah. So gratitude, but also those achievements.
Yes.
Like gratitude, I'm grateful for fricking everything. Like that seems easy to me. But when it's focusing on me, what I've actually achieved, that is slower for my mind to get around to. So that's really the focus for me. Is I'm going to be doing achievements this year, because there has a lot of power in that for me. So we'll put this back on the screen for people that like words, me too, just so that there's something or takeaways that we want to walk away from here.
So as you guys read these, if anyone has any questions or anything that you want to share, go ahead and can raise your hand or put them in the comment box. We have a few more minutes. I think we're just coming up on an hour. So if anyone wants to ask anything or share, I'm just reading comments. Yeah, that's a great affirmation, Colin. Best, the best comes to me. Yes, that's like, yes, the joyous, I love the joyous expectancy, because we can get expectant with things and be like more dictatorship around the expectations. But yeah, I live in the joyous expectancy of the best, and invariably the best comes to me.
Invariably.
Yes. You love that word.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, Colin, I've noticed Colin is a good steward of words.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. Yeah. Super neat.
What's one of your affirmations? The right people, right place.
The right circumstances and the right people are already around me, and they're going to show up on time. And so it's like, I don't have to worry. They're already in my sphere, and they're going to show up exactly when I need them. So I don't have to worry, because part of what I value, need, want in my life is just things to be calm, things to be easeful, right? I don't want to think that things have to be hard anymore. So I would rather embody that things are easy. So what does that mean? They're already around me. So then the next thing is, I need an affirmation that says, I'm going to go and talk to them too, right? Because sometimes when they come to me, I might not be in the right state, and for that, I might not be feeling, but it's always just getting in that state of being open and accepting. So a lot of times, if you guys were to ever meet me in person or one-on-one, I tend to be very, very positive, very uplifting, very full of possibilities. Let's be in this happy, joyous state of possibilities so that we can attract all those things that we want. We're just making possibilities at those minutes, right? And then we can see how those possibilities feel. And then we can start to live in them more and more and more. And people will either resonate with those, or they will be opposites of those, and they will push away, just like magnets. And so it's funny because, so I raise money for real estate endeavors that I do, right? One of the things of going from no money and no credit to owning lots of property is you have to learn to leverage other people's money and other people's assets, different things like that. So literally, I was on a call with a private lender yesterday, and they asked a wonderful question. They asked me, what is my ideal client that I want to work with? I said, oh man, that's the perfect question, because I have it written right on my board over here as I was brainstorming. And it's like, it's someone that's loving, someone that's kind, someone that is calm, that makes things easeful. Literally, I think I just stared. I said, don't mind as I go and I just read this off to you. And I just literally read it off to them. And you can imagine that I felt very comfortable putting that energy out into the world. And then they either attracted towards that, or they're like, that doesn't sound like me, right? But I gave them a frame of reference of this is who I want in my life. So even if they were a little bit off from that, they were aligning their energy and their mind and saying, yes, I want to work with that guy sounds great. Those are all wonderful words. Who wouldn't want those types of things, right? And so at the end of that call, I felt more excited. I felt like there were more possibilities with all that. And it's just, man, there's so many good things that we are excited to teach you guys, share with you guys different exercises and our journeys along the way that got us here. But we're a journey that's still in progress. So I will absolutely share those things with you because I can only speak for myself. But absolutely, we're going to have a lot of fun doing all of that.
Yeah. And I wanted to answer Alyssa's question. Will repetition of my affirmations help me to believe them? Sometimes I feel silly saying affirmations when I'm not there yet. So yes, we also, Alyssa, I don't know if you've watched last week's video, but I will be sending a link out with the replay of this one. Repetition of your affirmations will help you believe them. There are bridge words that you can use, like I am capable of. It is safe for me to. And then repeat your affirmation. So for an example, if one of my affirmations is, I used this one last time, I make $1 million a month. It is safe for me to make $1 million a month. I am capable of making $1 million a month. I am open to making $1 million a month. So you're creating the possibility that it can happen. Not that you need to believe it right now, but if it doesn't feel true for you, then let yourself just use those bridge words of I am open to, I am capable of, it is safe for me to.
What about I prefer? That one's not resonating with me.
I prefer, so that one still gives the leeway of, it gives like wiggle room. We don't want to give wiggle room. So like, well, I prefer this over this. Okay, but is that what you want? You prefer
or what you will have. Yeah. Don't tell the universe that, oh, I prefer that, but I'll take whatever I get.
Yeah. Cause I prefer
That's
it
what it
has like
sounds
that
like.
loose energy with it. So you want something like, no, I am open to this happening. It is safe for this to happen to me. So that you want a declaration.
Or even like, I am getting more and more blank every day. I mean, that helps me because that feels real. And it's like, it's training wheel words as opposed to saying, I am this. But like, after you hear, like, I'm capable of a little bit more every day, well, then you're like, well, yeah, well, why don't I just jump now to the main affirmation? Like, I feel okay. And that's how your affirmations can evolve. And it's, I think of them too, as they're coming to me when I'm running and stuff like that. It's like, why am I thinking that? Why is this big block that I'm not going to accept that I am this way? And part of it is that I don't acknowledge the things that I've already done. That's the whole thing that we're talking about today. If I were to remember and embody all of those wonderful things that I've done that are already in alignment towards that, then it would be so much easier. Just like how I used to be shy, right? So I would always remember things where, man, I always remember when I was shy. Do I remember any of the times where I wasn't shy? No, I don't. I toss those off so darn quickly, right? It's just you latch onto that one part of you. And so it's just little things that can change. So great questions.
And give yourself permission to know that this is a process and you will excel. And there will be times where you fall off your bike and you don't have to stay down. You can get back up and start riding again. But know that as you're learning and you just took the training wheels off, maybe you're putting the training wheels on to start learning. But then as you move to the next level, training wheels got to come off. You might fall. That's okay. It's okay to know, one, you're not alone in doing this. And two, you never don't fall again. We still fall. I've been doing this for years. I still fall. And the point is to have that support, have that community, even if it's just the people on this call, when you hop on live and just engaging in the chat box, whatever that community or support looks like for you, engage that to build that believability in yourself.
Have that community, have those skills, but also have that muscle memory. You've heard of muscle memory in athletes, right? Well, there's muscle memory up here too. So it's like, all right, so we fell once, big freaking deal, right? It might feel huge at the time, but like you're getting more and more muscle memory of getting up and going again and getting towards that goal more and getting and becoming, embodying that thing that you want to be more and more and more. So focus on that. Remember, that's the one thing that we wanted was that focus as well. So you have to focus forward, not looking backwards at those things. Say, okay, I fell, big deal. That's what happened right now. That happened right now. You know, that is not what's dictating what's going forward. And that is not any of these things in the past. Forget about it, right? That's just what happened. It's just what happened right now. Now I can choose where I'm going forward from that. It doesn't have to dictate it. But the fact that I did fall means, wow, I'm trying. I'm trying something new. So pat yourself on the back, write that down. It's like, okay, I failed
Celebrate
today.
that you're trying something new. Yeah.
Yeah. And in that failure, it's not you're celebrating the failure, but in that failure, notice that there's great things there.
Yes,
You're
like
trying.
that you felt fear and you did it anyways, that you were scared and you did it anyways.
And
that
then you got
learned a
up
lesson.
afterwards. And tomorrow I'm going to go after it again. I'm not going to
Yes.
lose that thought, that goal, that drive. I'm not going to lose that just from this one instance here.
Yes, definitely. Yes, Danielle, you said you just had a big aha moment of how this ties in with eating habits, weight. So powerful. Yes, you're so welcome. And that's how I got into this was through my eating habits and my weight. And so this 100% ties in to all of that. I mean, we have a relationship with our body, with our business, with our bank accounts, with our partners, with our family, with money, with our environment, with every single thing in our life we have a relationship with. And we have an energy that aligns with every single relationship with everything in our life. So if we can figure out what energy we are approaching the relationship with and then align to the ideal of how we want that relationship to pan out, knowing we can only control ourselves, you've already won because you're showing up in your best and highest. And then you know that if anything isn't aligned with that, it's going to naturally fall off as you make room for more to come into your life. We'll talk about this on a different call. But yeah, we're wrapping up. We thank you guys for being here today. If you ever have any questions or want to go over anything specific for a call, feel free to message one of us on Facebook or Instagram. And yeah, just thank you so much for your comments in the chat box. And yeah, take this and take what we said today and run with it. You'll have the replay. Whatever stands out for you, use it. Whatever doesn't, leave behind. And just use the lens of energy and seeing how can I align to this first energetically and then take action and just see where that gets you. Because one thing that I told him that like rocked his world was one day he was having just some issues with patterns and cycles. And I'm like, okay, there's some stuff coming up here that we need to clear the energy between. So I wrote on a piece of paper, a really big energy before action, do this exercise. I'm like, don't take any action until you do this exercise. And he did it and cleared a bunch of stuff.
I might have put it off a day or
Put it
two.
off, but I
With a little anxiety.
I lovingly nudged him. And that's what happens. And we'll talk about that next week with the ego. He was stuck in a pattern and the ego was very familiar with that pattern. And it didn't know what was on the other side of this operating pattern. It knew it was surviving here, but we're not meant to survive. We're meant to, at this point, thrive in our life. And if we want to actually thrive, we have to get out of the egoic way of living. And that is in our comfort zone. So he knew that what he was doing was working, quote unquote, because he was surviving, but it didn't feel good.
Not good at all.
He was having less than ideal circumstances come into his life and lots of stressful situations kept showing up. And me being the outside perspective, I'm like, okay, I can clearly see what's going on here. I tuned into his energy. I'm like, this needs to happen. Gave him this exercise to do. He put it off. I lovingly nudged him. He finally did it. We're not messing with you when we say like within a week, things completely transformed.
Yeah.
For him.
I will
He's like,
tell you,
oh my gosh, wow.
it was a 45-hour-minute exercise that I ended up doing.
45
and
minutes to an hour.
what was it not?
Yeah, no, I'm just
Okay, so, but no, but during that, after that exercise, literally, I mean, like, and I had a little anxiety about it because I'm like, what is she having me do now? Right? You ever have that little critical voice of like, what is this thing? But trust in that other people know some wonderful things in this world. And obviously, she had her best intentions for me. But going through that exercise on the other side, immediately afterwards, I felt a weight was lifted, a huge weight. And yeah, sure, within that next week, wonderful things were starting to just show up where there was anxiety before that. Wonderful things were showing up in a week, but right away, it's yeah, things got closure from it, but like immediately, things just felt great. I'm like, oh, honey, I'm so sorry that I didn't do this sooner. Like, oh, okay. You know, and I'll tell her probably next time again, just put a little cute sticky note on there because I did like that little energy before I actually
introduce the exercise through this series later down the line. But just know that energy is what's creating everything. And when you can align your energy to the feeling of the desire of already being on the other side of that goal, already being on the other side of that desire, that's when we can really make things happen. And on the other side of that desire or that goal being achieved, are you feeling anxious? Are you holding a grudge for people who have done you wrong in the past? Do you even care about those people anymore? Do you care about the ex that broke your heart if you're in a dream of a relationship? Do you care about the business partner that did you bad if you're raking in millions and millions and millions of dollars with ease and flow? And so it's like, it's those types of things. Put yourself in the shoes of that version of you, and then ask, what am I holding on to right now that I can let go of?
Okay, that's not so much teasing as you're starting to go into it. We're going to try and wrap some things up for you guys. Just remember that we have lots of great exercises and wonderful things that we've practiced, you know, things that are based in some science as well. And it's just so powerful stuff. Remember, guys, we're just going to run around the track, always talking about these different things. And every now and then we're going to go off on a little spiral and go real deep on them. But then we're going to come right back to the track. And we're just going to run right around again and just start talking more and more different energetic alignment and mindset items.
And to Danielle, yes, we'll do the exercise in this series. And I don't know if you guys are connected with us on social media, but if you're not, please connect with us. I'll send it out when it does get sent out.
There's always a link on the bottom of the replays.
So if you ever have any questions or anything that's going on in your own personal life and you don't want to put it in the chat box, you can reach out to one of us. And if you ever want to do deeper work with me, you can always reach out to inquire about that as well.
And if you ever have money that you want to invest, I do that. So let me put that plug in here, guys. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you guys so much for spending your last Thursday of 2022 with us. Sending you so much love for the beginning of the year. We will see you next Thursday.
Super excited. Lots of love, everyone. Love. Have a wonderful one. Bye-bye.